Okay, let's get started. We'll just jump right in. We are going to use today the layered stencil, the poinsettia one. And if you shopped Brutus Monroe's Black Friday specials, there were a bunch of really awesome free gifts, like tons of awesome ones. And the nice thing is that if you missed out on some of those, or maybe your purchase didn't get high enough to reach some of the ones that you wanted, they are up for purchase now until supplies last, I believe. And I am going to highlight one of those. I think it's my favorite. Well, it's hard to say because I like so many of them, but we're going to use the poinsettia layered stencil. And I kind of wanted to use that one just because I figured a lot of you might be a little bit nervous about starting with it. All right, so we're going to start out with, I'm going to use some Perfect Blend paper. This paper, who did?
Gina.
Hi, Gina. This is awesome paper for when you're doing any kind of blending. If you want to color with Copics or pencils or whatever, we're going to just do ink blending with some brushes today. And this paper is amazing for that. So if you have not tried this, you've got to try the Perfect Blend paper. You will not be sorry. So first off, the set comes with these 3 different stencils. You can kind of see, let me move this so you can see it against the black. It'll be easier to tell see the details. So you've got all of these different leaves. You've got some berries. You've got the centers, what can be used for the centers of the poinsettias. Do what?
You're missing part of your...
I'm moving up a little bit. I would have to raise the camera if that's the case. And then this one has got kind of a little pine bough and then like some of the little just pine spriggy things. And so the way that it's laid out, if you use it just exactly how it's laid out, let me just show you this example. There's a graphic on the site too, but this is blown up a little bit so you can see it better. This is kind of what you come up with. But you are not committed to this. This stencil is really easy to use. I think it's really fun. It's fun to mess around with it. I'll show you a couple of the cards that I've made already with it. I made this one. I just kind of went a different direction. And I made this one. And both really, really easy, totally different looks. Oh, I should mention, pretty important detail. They come with the 3 stencils and then they've got these 2 dies so that you can create poinsettias.
Card's upside down, Jen.
What?
The sparkle card's upside down.
Oh, it sure is. Thanks. Okay, so one nice thing is you can use them singly like this, or you can actually layer them up to get more dimension. I think we'll probably do that on today's card. So let me just move those out of the way. And I'm going to do a couple of things because one, I just want to kind of play around for a minute. This one, we probably won't finish this particular project, but I want to show you just how simple it is to use this stencil set and something that I think is kind of fun that you can do with it. So one thing, and this is kind of an experiment, so, bear with me. One thing maybe we should do, you could actually start out with a circle. I might see if I've got a circle die already cut out. Yeah, I do. So when I have extra circle dies, just die cuts, I'll just stick the circle inside of my bag so that when I go to use them, I've got them. So this one I've got already made into a card, but it doesn't have to be perfectly round to do what we need to do. But I am going to kind of use it as a guide. So I think we'll start maybe about right there. Yeah, we'll just do it that way. This is gonna be really loosey-goosey. It's not like super precise. If you know me at all, I'm not a super precise kind of gal.
Need to move up to more towards the top of your mat.
The part that I'm using is on the screen, but I can do that. Okay. So I'm just going to use a little bit of washi to kind of just get my stencil where I want it. And then I'm actually going to kind of section it off a little, just because I can totally see myself going over those openings with that if I don't pay close enough attention. So this one is far enough away, but that one's a little close. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our blending brush, and I'm going to use some Simon Hurley inks today. I'm going to use some of his greens. I've got Overzealous, Later, Gator, and Fake Plant. And I will show you one thing I did over the weekend that has made my life so nice. I labeled them so I can see them, and you can see I used an old lady sized font so I can see them really easily. Okay, so I'm going to start with my lightest color, which would be the Overzealous. And again, this is loose. It's not super precise. So if you start with a different color, not a big deal, because we're going to use all the colors and just kind of have them all kind of a variety. We're just going to get some color in there. Okay, so now I'm going to move my stencil. We'll kind of use this as a guide to kind of make sure we're staying kind of, at least kind of round, right? So I'm going to put this, you can see, you can line your stem up so the stem follows the line. And on this one, I think we'll use the darker one. We're going to use Later Gator, but I'm not cleaning my brush or anything in between.
Donna said you finally got a full set of Simon Hurley inks, but not the refills yet.
Oh, Donna, that's awesome. I love Simon Hurley ink.
She's going to buy the stencil tomorrow. It's still there.
This stencil, I love this stencil. This is just a beautiful, there's so much you can do with it. I feel like I've just barely scratched the surface. And then we'll just, let's move our paper this time. And then it's kind of centered, kind of not. But like I said, this is loose. That's my disclaimer. If you're worried about your work, just claim that. That's your style. Just have a loose style. All right, so now we're going to use, this one is Fake Plant. And the nice thing about this too is this particular twig or bough or whatever you want to call it, this one has those little rounded edges. It doesn't look as much piney. So it's something I think you could use all year. I don't think you would be limited to winter time or Christmas time. I think that you could use this as a base for a spring wreath if you wanted to. See, I went a little bit over, but it's not going to matter because we're going to do some other stuff to it. And like I said, I'm mostly just showing you what you can do. We'll go back to our lightest one, which was the Overzealous. And I just move that sticking to everything. Can you really? We have a pond across the street from where we live, and the ducks and the geese are kind of migrating right now. And they are so loud. I will have to post a video at some point to show like just how many are hanging out over there. They cover, I mean, there are hundreds. They cover the entire lake, or not lake, but pond. It's crazy. It's fun to watch, but they are loud. So if you can hear them in the background, that's what you're hearing. I think it's mostly geese right now over there. Okay, so now we're going to move on to our later gator. Can you hear them? I think they're going to fly over my house.
Yeah, we're within the flight path.
Yeah, we're in their flight path for sure. And we'll just carry that all the way around. Like I said, this is mostly just to give you an idea of what can be done. The project that we're going to make, I'm not going to do the full wreath for that. But let's see, we're on the darkest one, I believe. The fake plant color. You could spread them apart a little further if you like them further, or make them a little closer if you like a little bit more full of a wreath. I can tell I cut in a little bit deep on that last one, put a little more angle on it. So we'll just kind of bring it back out again as we make the turn, maybe. Maybe that'll kind of correct it. And we're back to our Overzealous color. Did any of you make any fun crafty purchases over Black Friday? Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad that they're not overpowering the duck sound. Okay, we're on our last little sprig. And if there's time, we might mess with this some more, but I just wanted to show you. This is just one of a million things you can do with these stencils. They're not limited to one way to do them. She can hear them? Yeah. Yeah, they're crazy. Probably depends on how loud you have your speakers. Okay, so there we've got just a little wreath. We can mess with that in a little while if we still have some time. But super simple. But for what we're doing today, we're just going to use, let's see, I think I used the, no, that's the right side.
You just said you bought some stuff for Lily for Christmas. She gives me an excuse to buy more craft supplies, LOL.
Oh man, who needs an excuse? Who needs an excuse? Okay, so this one we're going to start, I think we'll use the later gator. And we're just going to make a little sprig, kind of like our Christmas tree is hanging over our card. Hopefully I put that up high enough. I think so. And then I'm actually wanting to just make sure it looks like it's part of the same sprig. We want it to kind of finish out. So I'm just going to extend that out. And it's okay that they overlap a little bit. It's not hurting anything. You don't even have to go all the way to the top. If it's bothering you, just go from there on. Okay, so we've got our first little branch, and then we'll just have a little second branch kind of coming in. And on this one, we'll go with the fake plant color. Is anybody seeing snow yet? We haven't seen snow here yet, but I'm looking forward to it. My dogs have never seen snow, so I can't wait to see what they think of it. Benji probably only barely remembers snow, so it'll be fun when we get our first snow.
Gina says, I love these clever ideas.
This, Gina, don't you love this set? Gina got to play with this set too. It's just a fun set. Okay, so now we're just going to take our blending brushes and do a little bit more with our background.
She said so.
Oh yeah, Donna? Did it stick? We are going to take, this is just flurries. That's so fun. I know, I'm excited about this first snow, but I'm sure after the first one, I'll be like, okay, I'm done now. Okay, so this is Over the Moon.
Gina says she loves this set. A lot you can do with it.
I agree, Gina. I love it. So I actually, if I hadn't used this up last time, I was kind of messing around with this. Sometimes I'll just use whatever is left in my brush, because sometimes there's enough. I just want a light amount of color on this, because I'm just kind of creating a little bit of light around the bow, because there'd be Christmas lights coming off of it.
Donna said they've had at least an inch and snowed 4 times. She's loving it.
Oh, Donna, I know you do so much better in the cold. I love seeing all the things that you're able to do when it's the weather cooperates with you.
Michelle says hi.
Hi, Michelle. And I'm just kind of going around, like I said, just kind of creating a little bit of light around it. And I'm going to cover some of that up. You'll see. Going back to the not precise crafter that I am. I can be on some things, but on a lot of things, not so much. I have to leave a lot of room to be a little bit clumsy, because just by nature, I tend to be a little bit clumsy. Okay, so there is the Over the Moon. And now I'm going to take Grrr. This is a really good brown. I like this brown. And we're just going to kind of have some fun with this. I'm just going to kind of, you don't want to start in really heavy in one spot. So I actually use my glass mat sometimes and just kind of start there a little bit. And I don't want this to be too smooth. We're going to want some kind of texture in there. So you'll see how we kind of accomplish that.
Donna said, I can see ornaments hanging from that, or at least one.
Oh, I think you just might be onto something, Donna. You may see some today. You may see something coming up here real shortly. Then you can always kind of pull that ink back off of your glass mat and stick it in there. And then I'm kind of just brushing in there too, just because I want, like I said, a little bit of texture in there, a little bit of aging. Oh, I did. I kind of got closer and closer to my own body. Sorry about that. And I tend to, when I kind of want something to look aged, I go around the corners, because that's where everything gets the most wear, right? So I'll go a little darker on the corners. And then we'll just kind of work our way in a little bit. And I did kind of get that one spot a little heavier than I wanted to, but it's not going to matter, because we are going to do one more thing to this in a minute that will kind of make that, it's a forgiving technique. It'll make it a little bit less of the focal point there. We'll see if we can just kind of... Gina, have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so we're just going to go around those edges again. Like I said, I like to go heavy on those edges. kind of working my way into that yellow, but not right there in there. Okay. All right, I think we've just about got this covered. Maybe a little bit in there. Okay. So now, if you are familiar with Simon Hurley inks, one of the things that I love about them is that they're water reactive. So I just got this little, this actually had squeaky clean in it, and it has a really nice fine mist to it. So I'll back up, I will back up about maybe a good 10 inches and spray. And I don't want to just soak the card. I just want to get a nice fine mist on there. And if you can see how it's reacting to that, giving it just that much more texture. And you can kind of look at it, see what you think. I am not above drying it a little bit because I don't want to work my paper too much. Another reason why you don't want to just saturate the paper. Some paper is better for that, but this paper is a lighter weight, nice, like I said, it's meant to be blended, so it's not this really heavy paper. But let's do another round. What do you say? So we'll kind of let that start to do its magic. And maybe if you have a spot like that, hit it one more time if you're trying to kind of cover up a spot you don't love. And then let's just go ahead and bring our heat tool in again. Hopefully that's not too loud. This one's a fairly quiet one. That's what I like about it. Sometimes I'll dry it on the back too, even though the back really isn't wet, just to kind of keep the curve less wavy, if that makes sense. A lot of things you can kind of feel when you're crafting, I think. So do what works for you. We've got just enough water left on this that I can just clean off my mat too. We'll get that kind of out of the way. And we'll set this aside for a minute so it can dry. And then I'm going to go ahead and get these. I just cut these out of, I just used a scrap from my stash. But this is kind of a yellowy, it almost has a little bit of a green hint to it. And I'm just going to take, I like that because that's kind of the inside part of a poinsettia. I hope I was saying that right. I can't guarantee that I am. So first thing I think I'm going to do is I'm going to just use whatever's on my brush, just because I don't want to start too intense. And I'm actually, on this one, I'm going to do both sides, and I'll tell you why. Because I want to get a little bit of dimension on this. So if it has at least a little bit of color on the underside, then if you see it kind of lifting off the card a little bit, you will see red instead of seeing this kind of yellowy color. Okay, so I think we've pretty well got that cleaned off. So I'm going to start, this is Love Struck. It's one of the newer colors in Simon Hurley's line. We'll just put this a little bit more red on this, just so that it's covered. So we'll use that for the back. And then I may not go all the way to the center because I might leave that a little bit of that yellow. If you do get in there, it's not that big of a deal. We're gonna have some gems in there and stuff anyway. So if you can, great. If you can't, great. And I am gonna do this a couple of times over to get a little bit more intensity of the color. Let's set that one aside for a second while we do this one. Let it dry a little bit. I think it kind of layers better if you dry it in between. This will be the back side. And a little more aggressive on this bigger one. It's a little easier to be aggressive with. And then we'll do this side. See if I can get some of that color up. If you use the color on the mat first, then if you do get in the middle, it's not as deep, so you can still kind of get that lighter tone. Have you started decorating, guys? I am almost done. I've got another, we've got the tree up. We're gonna put another tree, just a smaller one, right by our front door. And I have another little surface I want to cover with something. I'm not sure what yet. But we're getting there, guys. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas for sure around here. I have nothing done outside though. I don't own anything. I realized I don't have any outdoor decorations. So we'll have to see what we can do about that. Okay, so we'll add another layer.
Nope, she still has Halloween out.
Who does?
Michelle?
Michelle. That's all right. It's only December 1st. People this year, it was funny. This year I just noticed a lot of people just like started a lot earlier than usual. It's always been a tradition for us to do it like over the Thanksgiving holiday. All right, I think those are pretty good. Now we're just going to add a little bit more depth on the edges. We'll just use a little bit of this Game Over, just to make it a little bit more luscious, I guess. I have a lot bigger living room in this house, so when I went to decorate, I was like, I thought we had more decorations than this. So it was kind of funny to realize we needed a few things. All right. Okay. I'm going to spray my hands just so that I don't get red ink on everything else I touch today. Okay, so now we're going to give these just a little bit of life. We don't want them to just be flat. So if you have a bone folder or a crease tool, whatever you want to call it, these are really helpful in just getting a little bit more movement. You may want to dry your dyes a little bit before you do this if you don't want red. But in the essence of time. So one thing I like to do when I'm doing a flower is I like to kind of round it, and I use my fingernail a little bit to kind of go against for the center. So I get a lot of lift right there, right by the center. And then you don't want to crease in the petal. So just use your finger to kind of make it round. Does that make sense? This one is, let's see, I think I have another one too. This one has a little round spot on it. This one's a close to my heart one. But I think I have a Martha Stewart one too that also has just kind of a rounder end on it. What?
You're off camera.
Sorry. So I'm kind of, okay, so when you're curling ribbon, that's the same kind of feeling you're going to want to feel when you're doing this. You don't want to pull too tight because you can pull the petals right off, and nothing is worse than that after you've gone to all the trouble to ink them and get them ready to go. And then I'm actually going to the very tip and bending another bend up. And it just gives you a lot of movement and a lot of dimension in your die cut. So we've got the base. And then we'll do the same thing with the smaller one. And if you kind of push towards your fingernail and kind of grab it by the end, you can kind of do all of it at once. You just have to be careful not to get a crease, just a straight crease across the middle. You want it to stay rounded. You don't want like a hard line.
Michelle says curling ribbon is so satisfying.
I agree. Curling ribbon is satisfying, Michelle. If you do get a crease, you can kind of try it. See that one? I'm having a harder time getting it rounded. There we go. You can kind of just straighten it out and start again. Okay, so see we got a little bit more dimension in our flower. So now I'm going to use one of our Easy Tab foam dots to give us even a little bit more depth. We're just going to put one right on top of the other. And there is our poinsettia, but we're not done. We've got that. We can set that aside. I've got one It's slightly darker. I'm kind of liking the darker one. I guess they're not that much different. This one I like the center for a little bit more. But I have to tell you, I've been wanting to play with the ornament dies, and I, again, feel like I've barely scratched the surface, but I did do one for this card. This is such a pretty die set. You've got all of these different dies. You can put different combos. These would be great for a shaker card. If you want some ideas, go to the website and go to the product page, and you'll see a whole bunch of samples of things that people have done with these, but I just think these are gorgeous. We're going to use ours with, how many of you have some of this? This is one of our sequin sheets, and we have a few different colors. This one, Darren, what's this one called?
This is called Iridescent Frost.
This one is Iridescent Frost. Obviously, I had a hard time remembering that. I guess I'm just getting old. So, I wanted to use this one for mine, and I just went ahead and used it with my die cut machine because it is kind of a, it's made out of the same thing sequins are made out of. I used a metal shim with mine when I ran it through my machine just to make sure that it cut through all the way. You may want to do that when you're using sequin sheets just because it's a little bit different material, but definitely worth it to do that. And then I used some of our Elegant Essentials in sterling to create the inside piece.
Michelle said yes in multiple colors.
Isn't it great, Michelle? I love this. And I think it's so pretty for ornaments because seriously, Christmas brings out the gaudiest side of me. I love the shine. I love the sparkle. My tree has all kinds of crazy, we collect birds for our Christmas tree. At least I do. Darren just corrected me. I knew he would. I beat you to it. So every year I buy a different bird, and the crazier, like the more sequins and beads and stuff and feathers that has on it, the better. And I started that because my grandma, I inherited a couple that she had that had like the real like tinsel hanging off of them and stuff. And they were just fun. And my grandma was just kind of just full of life and kind of just a little bit eccentric. She was an artist and she could put things together. She'd put like orange and purple together and make it look great. So, and had no fear of doing it. So I guess I get a little bit of that. So I'm just going to make a line so that it's not in midair. Just because that bugs me. I don't think anyone else would probably care, but I probably should have two lines, one going behind it too.
Donna said she
there we
was
go.
foam dots for the first time on Monday. She loves them.
Oh yes, those foam dots are awesome, aren't they? So I just drew my little line. I left a little spot where it's behind it. I am not an artist, so take it for what it is. If I can do it, you can do it though. That's the good news, guys. So I want to tell you one other thing. Sorry. Before I go on, I want to tell you that for when I adhered the Elegant Essentials die to the sequin sheet, I found Ultrabond glue really helpful because it dries a little bit faster than some of the other glues out there, and it made that putting it on this non-porous surface, it made it just a lot easier. So I would highly suggest that. So
says ornaments are a great idea. She just looks at her paper. It's too pretty to cut.
it is pretty. I agree with you. It is really pretty paper. So I'm going to use a foam dot, and I'm just going to put it right in this little square because we don't want to see it, right? We just want it to look magical. But I do want a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to put this right there. And then maybe, I think I might change, this one's a black one. And I figured that would be good for this one because we're going to have the black bow right there. So that'll kind of help cover that up. But down here, we may want to use a little bit of white. I need to cut a super thin strip off of one because I am only going to put it where it won't be seen. And I am certainly not above cutting my foam however I want. The only trick I will say, I will admit that it's a little harder to get the little backer off when you cut them. Okay, so I want it down fairly low, but not too low. I think that's about right. One thing I'll tell you, another trick about this, because you don't want this to clog. First of all, one nice thing is you can always use a pin to kind of ungunk it. But one other trick, if you can see the tip of your applicator. But the other thing that I like to do when I'm using something with a tip like that is I'll just kind of tap it on the table before I put the lid on. And that way it just kind of, my dogs think there's someone at the door because I tapped the table. Okay, so I'm just going to use a glue dot for the top, for the little, I just tied a little piece of black twine. We'll just, oh, I think that did the glue dot stick? Yep, it's there. Okay, so we'll just stick that right over the top there. So far so good. We're just gonna kind of place our poinsettia on our bow. And I think once again, I'm gonna go ahead and use a foam.
Don't ask what paper you cut the silver with.
That's Elegant Essentials and Sterling.
Cheryl says, love this.
Thanks, Cheryl. And I'm trying to, what I need to do is grab my mats because I don't really want the blossom to hang over the card too much. I think we'll just kind of call that about right. Maybe a little higher. I think that'll work. Okay, so now we just need to put a sentiment. Now I went back and forth on it because one of the things that I love that was one of the free gifts are these cute little, let me grab white so you can see. These cute little village houses. There's 4 different ones. This one is the Candy Cane Drive one. It's super cute. I'll show you the samples that I made with this. You can get totally different looks. Super cute, super fun. You can color it, you can emboss it, you can use the Marshmallow Puff embossing powder, and it looks really cute if you use it on like a craft paper. But one of the fun things I like about it, you can see here, is that it's got the sentiment, and then it's also got the die that cuts it out for you, so it looks nice. And I thought about using that here, but in the end, I changed my mind and decided I wanted to stamp directly on it. The only problem, oh, no, I decided not to use a stamp. In the end, what I decided for the scale of this, where everything else is kind of big, I decided to use a conversation clipping, which I love anyway. They are just the most convenient, wonderful things. They are one of my favorite products that we carry. So I think we'll use that. I just am trying to decide. I always have a hard time deciding where I want to place it. And then also, I've got these little acrylic bubbles. We've got a holiday set of these. Tons in this jar. They will last you forever. But I just think everything going on, I wanted to keep the embellishments a little more low-key. And then for the top, you can use your stencil. I showed you that it has a layer that has the dots, but also we will use, I'm going to just use some little jewels.
Cheryl asked the name of the ornament die is.
It's called Ornaments Standalone Die. If you type in ornaments, it should come up on the site. But if it doesn't come up right away,
I'll put a link up again.
Oh, Darren will put the link up too. But yeah, it's Ornaments Standalone Die. Okay, so let's just put our little, I'm just going to use glue dots for the bubbles. Put one there. Yeah, if you did not get in on those Black Friday gifts, definitely check them out because they are really really cute items. And even if you did get them, they are great items for gifts. So, okay. So now let's go ahead and I'm just going to use my tape runner for this really quick. Easy. Oh, isn't it fun? It's just, and it was simple. You saw how fast it was. Easy tear tape is just great too. I'm just in a hurry, so I'm just using, I just grabbed what I had handy. One thing I love about easy tear tape though is that it really, like, if you use that, whatever you stuck, it's stuck. Ooh. And it doesn't do that. Okay. So now, this paper, I've shown you a few times. This is the aged Wagon paper. I don't know if it'll show up. Hopefully it will. I'll hold still for a minute. Can you see the wood grain in it? Awesome paper. I ran out today and decided, oh dear. For a minute, I thought I had cut my paper wrong, so I was panicking a little bit. But yeah, I'll be buying more of this. I think it is so much fun. Okay, so we've got the front of our card pretty much done, except we need to put our little jewels on. And the jewels that I'm using, I got on the Brutus Monroe site, but I don't think they're available anymore. They were these cute ones from Buttons Galore and More. It was the Halloween mix. So if you've got these already in your stash, pull them out. We're just going to use these little yellow ones. I don't know if you can see that. Looks like you can. And then I'm going to use the detail grabber to help me actually use them. And I'm going to just use 3 little...
Cheryl said, last question. What was the clear stuff that was used to make the ornament? It's so pretty.
That is our sequin sheets. And you can ask as many questions as you want here. This is called Iridescent Ice. Darren will put the link up.
Iridescent Frost.
Oh, I'm sorry. Iridescent Frost. And there are other shades, but yes, that is what that is. Okay, so we're going to use our detail grabber and just stick those right over the top. And we've got our pretty little center to our poinsettia. And now we just need to use, I'm using one of our pre-cut card bases, which I absolutely love. I'm sure you have heard me say it a million times because I will continue to say it because I love these. And to be honest with you, I am a little bit frugal. So when it comes to card bases, I'm like, I could cut a card base, but you know what? These are so nice. And I actually think I save because I don't know about you guys, but I don't always cut my card bases exactly straight. Or I'll get distracted and doing something else. And I just like having them ready to go. I can just go right to them. They're all scored and all perfect for me. So I highly recommend them. What was that?
Donna said that's a gorgeous card.
Oh, Donna, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. And again, I'll just show you one more time all the things you can do with that stencil. And then we didn't really do too much with this, but you can see how simple it would be to make that into something fun. So next week I have something really fun in mind that I'm going to create using 2 of our new products. Let me just grab them so that you can get a little sneak peek. Some of the things that are new for the month of December. If you've seen the inspiration box, Christopher put a video out today that shows the new inspiration box. I don't have mine yet, so I can't show you that yet, but I can show you some of the add-ons. Like this kitchen tile stencil. Isn't that gorgeous? Think of how gorgeous you could do a card using the poinsettias with it. I think it's fun because it does look like kitchen tile, but it also, I can see a Christmas card made out of that really easily too. And then you've got the Family Traditions stamp set, which has all of these really fun, what's the word I'm looking for? Categories for food. And then you've got these cute little veggies. And I don't know about you, but I'm actually really, one of my goals for the next year is to do a little bit more scrapbooking. And I cannot write in a straight line. I just cannot do it. So I love this. And this would be a cute background for a lot of things too. This stamp is great for writing a recipe on, but I can see a lot of other things you can do with this. You can make a plaid if you wanted to. So many fun things. And then there's a coordinating die. And next week I'm going to be using these to create something that's actually it's going to be a holiday theme. Oh, me too. Me too. And then this is the cute little die of the month. This is called You Bake Me Happy. And the die of the month is such a good deal. And they're actually going to have a stamp, or not die of the month, stamp of the month, excuse me. There's also, Christopher announced today that there's going to be a Stamp Plus that you can sign up for, where you get the stamp and the die for, it's $10, and that includes the shipping. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. And I hope that you have some ideas rolling around in your head now about what you want to do with your stencil and for your Christmas cards in general. I will have something new. I kind of gave you a little bit of a preview, not really telling you too much, but I gave you a little preview of what I'll be working with next week. I hope you'll come back for that, and I will see you then. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.